just gotta have that gold, gold, they'll do anything for gold.
Welcome to Searching for Truth and Treasure in Alabama with Alabama historian, videographer, and speaker Jim Phillips. Jim has spent the last 40 years exploring and finding amazing artifacts on lesser-known sites in the state. He's here with us to discuss the how and where you can legally explore old, privately owned sites and find those amazing treasures from the state's past. Plus, he's going to tell you a story or two about hard-to-believe events he's encountered as he's toured the state. So let's get into it. Here's Jim Phillips.
Hey, welcome in, everybody. I'm Philip Richard, Jim's cohort on this lovely podcast called Searching for Truth in Alabama. Jim, how are you today?
Well, I'm in a pretty good mood. I think we're going to have some fun with this talk. I've made some notes on some things I think we need to cover.
So we don't have Angry Jim today. We got Happy Jim.
No, and the last podcast we did, I don't even know the title of these things. And I tell you, I spoke at a Baptist church yesterday in Tuscaloosa. I had a lot of fun. I spoke at 2 libraries the past couple of weeks. I spoke at 2 more churches and all. And I don't remember what I tell them. It's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
That's why I say to you, did we cover that already?
Because right.
We have several podcasts. I want to make a couple of corrections. I said when I was talking about the witch, the office witch, where the lady came in that was beautiful and I fell in love with her.
That was a couple podcasts.
Yeah, well, she looked just like Sheree North. And I think I said Sheree Lewis. No, I said Sheree North, but Sheree Lewis does the puppets.
Yeah, she's a lamb chop.
She's the lamb chop. That's lamb chop, but she looked like Sheree North. Sheree North was on the cover of Life magazine in 1955. They said she was going to compete with Marilyn Monroe.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and you want to know when you're getting old? She died at 73. I'm 75. Complications from surgery. My coins showed up. I came in here, says that we have a mystery. I had my bag of coins, and I put them in my bag that's sitting here to my right where I carry my thermos with coffee because I'm always drinking it. I knew I put them in the bag. I ran upstairs to come down here to get the bag, and they're not in the bag. And I says, they were right here in the bag. I didn't touch them. I didn't make a mistake.
Yeah.
I didn't take them out. I moved the bag back. I looked behind the table. No coins. I went back up and I pulled that table out about 6 inches. The bag flipped a little bit. It went down the wall under the table.
Oh, wow.
So I found them. No ghost involved in
No
that.
No ghost.
Now, but I do think angels or aliens shop at Wal Mart.
I think that's going to be the title of this podcast.
That's okay with me. I spoke in a town with about 50,000 people, 60,000 people in northeast Alabama. You know how many showed up?
How many?
1.
All right.
1. And I don't know whether she was an angel or an alien. Now, I've spoke where it's full house, standing room only before.
Yeah.
But I've spoken now about 2 talks where there's 1 person. And and the lady says there's something about this town. I don't know what it is, but I was telling the lady, I got through with some of these experiences, and I talked about treasures, but I told a little bit about these podcasts. She says, well, angels and aliens, they're one and the same.
Yeah.
When you start to understand it, the life force that moves through the universe, that's her philosophy. She says, it is sacred. They're one and the same. And she says, you're having experiences because you're not closed-minded. You're open-minded spiritually and intellectually or mentally. And so you're like a magnet. So I don't know, but that's her.
That's what I've always said.
Well, that's what her theory is on it. Now, I'm walking out of Wal Mart, and I told you, what do I do? You remember what I like to do at the end of the day for contemplation, meditation? I go watch the sunset, right? I like to go up on my mountain. I need to get me a higher mountain. Go up and watch the sunset. I think about life, death, all these wonderful things, the meaning of life. So I come out of Walmart, and I'm thinking to myself, is it too hazy to go up there on the mountain and watch the sunset? And that's what my thought is. Is it too hazy? I'm not even looking up at the sun.
Yeah.
And I hear a lady say something that walks past me. And I turn, and there's nobody there but her. And she walks past me, and she gets about 5, 6, 7 feet away. And I said, were you talking to me? Because I didn't want to be rude. And she pivots around and stares at me and smiles and points at the sun. Just what I was thinking. Is it too hazy? Just points and smiles at the sun. And then she turns and walks away with this little smile. So she's either reading my mind or she's something I can't begin to believe what she is. But let me say this. She had a bag of something from Walmart. So angels or aliens shop at Walmart.
So what did you do? Did you go watch the sunset?
I should have. I should
Yeah,
have
you
thought
should
that's
have.
a sign.
Again, you could have got the keys to the universe.
I just said it's real hazy. Maybe she's saying you need to do this today.
Yeah.
You might see another big, giant black object come down
Right.
and hover over Birmingham, but I did not do it. I probably should have done it. Let's see. I want to tell you I went out looking for the tooth. You people hadn't heard any podcasts.
Your tooth?
You don't hunt in cemeteries. But if you're me, you will hunt where the wagons used to park, going
Right.
back to the 1800s, and the Model Ts if you get to the 1920s. And I have found some, always silver wedding bands, Florentine and stuff, where the wagons parked. Never found a gold ring there. I'm hunting at this cemetery in northeast Jefferson County and staying out from the graves. That's grave robbing if you get in there looking for. Oh, and I talked about how a magazine printed an article how to find those wedding bands, and everything they said it should be a felony and it's grave robbing. You don't do that.
Yeah.
But I'm metal detecting down the slope of the hill where the wagons parked, and up comes this molar. It is full of gold.
Oh my gosh.
Big molar. And dental gold is 16 karat gold. That's better than 14 karat.
Yeah.
So I look at it and I say, and you said this, I said, I just put it back in the ground and covered it up. And you said, well, that's the right thing to do. And I said, don't make me an angel. I went back, tried to find it later. I did. I went back again.
Yeah.
God, I have. There's nothing
Right.
forever about this. That's 16. Gold is up
Yeah.
$2,100 or so dollars a toy
Yeah,
ounce
I
right
know.
now. So that's worth digging a motor too. So I went back. Now, guess what? I drive up. I brought my ladder because you got to go over the gate that stays locked.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about it. They've built apartments where the historical church used to be.
Oh no.
They have redwood deck that goes back and covers that area of ground where the dental tooth was.
Wow.
Right up to a tombstone,
Really?
which I thought was disgusting.
Yeah.
You could sit on the edge of that deck in your lawn chair and almost stick your arm out and touch a tombstone. That's
Wow.
a church bought it.
Huh.
A big church, because the church that owned this property was having a hard time with congregation, financially. Church, I guess, to make money.
Yeah.
But you're going to tear down the historic church.
Wow.
You're going to build apartments there. They sold the land to a developer. The developer just put the redwood deck right up to
Right
the
up to
tombstone.
it.
It covered up my gold molar I was
I think so. You
after.
probably dug it up.
Well, I spun right out of there, and I went to this other cemetery about 10 miles away that in high school we used to go out there. It's kind of spooky with a buck. We didn't do anything destructive. We'd go out there with dates. And
Yeah. We used to do that.
oh, yeah. Did you hear that?
Oh yeah. Try to get them to snuggle up.
Well, let me
a little
tell
bit
you what
and
we
scare-
did. We carried the girls up where the graves were. There was about 2 cars with about 8 couples, and a couple of guys hid down by the gate. The gate was open with a black thread.
Oh.
And we said, did you hear that? Run! And we got the cars, we go down, and the gate closes by itself right there, pulling that black thread. Girls are crying and screaming. I never forgot that. Had a lot of fun. I go back. Folks, I'm going to hunt where the wagons park, because this cemetery goes back to the 1800s. It's a long driveway that goes up there, and the last thing you want to see is policemen coming up there saying, what
Yeah.
are you doing? And usually can talk to them, officer, I'm staying out of the cemetery.
Right.
And they want to know, have you found anything? And
Yeah.
talk metal detective. Well, I go out there, there's not a gate, there's 2 gates.
Oh no.
And they're locked, and there's a sign like skull and crossbones is camera monitored.
Uh-oh.
0 for 2.
0 for 2.
This is what happens with time.
Yeah.
0 for 2.
Yep. That's right.
By the way, my girlfriend that I fell in love with, the witch in the office that looked like Sheree North, I looked her up. She died at 73. That makes you feel
no.
old. I'm 75. So let's get into some things about being ripped off. We've got some stories about that, and I think of 2 instances of people being ripped off. One was you.
Wasn't me, but it was my parents.
You called me, and it broke
Many years ago,
broke
yeah.
my heart right off the bat. I blew the microphone off there, and I'm going to try to keep from saying "well anyway" all the time, which is my official transition every 10 seconds. Well, anyway, you called me, and you said my parents left Cracker Barrel. Oh, that's a sucker's play.
Yep.
Those con artists love those good old Bible reading. God bless
That's
us
right.
all.
That's
Good
right.
old people like. good, wholesome, moral country life. They like to go to Cracker Barrel. Great food, great atmosphere, and I like their store. And your parents came out, and this guy gave me a story. Let me see if I got this correct. He was a jewelry salesman. He sold everything he had, just had a little bit left over.
That's
and he
it.
just wanted to get home.
Yep.
And he was just going to pretty much give this away.
Yep.
Just sell it,
for
his cost. And just because he didn't want to have to worry about it, he sold everything off, had a little bit left. So he sold it to them in a bargain, and right then and there came out a box of Cracker Jack.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over and looked at it right off you could tell it was just spray painted and everything.
Yep.
So but
Sure did.
Yeah. Well, my wife, the only time I remember my daughter screaming as a little girl, it was Christmas holiday season, and my daughter was home, and I'm trying to see how old she was. She was probably, I think she was freshman year at the University of Alabama. I heard her screaming and crying downstairs, going, "No, no!" Thought, what's happened? So I run downstairs, and my daughter is holding this cross, diamond gold cross. There's two of them. I find out that my wife bought over the internet from New York City. If you people don't know what that means, New York City, you need to go back and find the podcast. She bought it, I guess, from Don Louis. I mean, I better not make Italian names. I get I'm half Italian. But they're fake.
Yeah.
And I took them to the doctor. I knew maybe there was a little gold in them. And he says $35 for both of them, maybe. And she paid, they were $2,000, but she bought them on sale. So maybe at best we only got ripped off for $17, $18. But people stay away from that stuff.
Look, if it seems too good to be true, it usually
Well,
is.
they are there's JTV, Julie T.
Julie
Oh,
TV.
great people.
Yep,
They do out of Nashville. There's got the cutest little lady. I think she had a baby. She's got a little Nashville drawl. I used to watch it just to watch her smile. Because they're just entertaining.
Yeah.
But these people are the real deal.
Right.
And they give you bargains, and you join their club and all. And they're good. Those are people you trust buying. But just something pops up on the internet and you're going to buy it. Stay away from that. Wall Street got into coin scams back, how many years ago was that? Silver and gold had gone up in Wall Street. This is when they had the movie out where they say greed is good. Remember that? Greed's good. Oh, yeah, everybody, women were smoking cigars to show that they were affluent and Wall Street. You would go on the internet and coins would be listed by brokerage houses.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm told, because I didn't have money to do brokerage and all that, but I was told this, and it was in the news all the time. And then there were these houses that sold investment material, gold and silver and all this kind of stuff. They were classifying coins that you could see had wear on them. They didn't even grade, almost uncirculated. And folks, I've talked about coin grading so many times, I'm not going over it again.
Right.
It goes from good, about good, good. You can't even see the date on those, and it gets up. You got to get to very good to start seeing some detail.
Yeah.
Almost uncirculated will make you think it's never been in people's hands or pockets unless you got a magnifying glass.
Right.
But if you do have a glass, you will see the scratches. They're almost uncirculated. They start getting in worth some money there. But they would take coins that graded very good. They didn't even go to almost uncirculated and put mint state 63. Now, what does that mean? I was just telling you, Philip, the coin I had that the doctor bought that was worth so much money from me and shared it with me, God bless him, at good, G4 good, it paid $50. When you got up to mint state 63, it was $16,500.
Wow.
That's a transition of about 7 states going up. It went from like 50 to like 80 to like 100 something. And it made that big jump from MS 60 to MS 63, and it went to $16,500. Now, the scams were, they're listing coins, and they're saying graded. You've got professional coin grading services, PCGS. They don't make mistakes. Trust them. You pay a fee. They put it in a tamper-proof slab. You pay a fee to send your coin in. They will grade it. Nobody can question that grade. If you're selling your coin, it's in a slab that says PCGS. You honor that grade. Annex, American Numismatic Association, a corporation. Annex, ANACS, whatever. There's about 4 of them. Totally trustworthy.
Yeah.
And if you buy coins that are graded, They need to be in slabs. They need to say Annex on it, PCGS, but people can counterfeit that. You got to learn how to deal with the professional coin grading services. And if you got a coin that's rare, you need to pay the whatever it is, $30, $35. But you got to send it off.
That's scary. That's scary.
People do it all the time.
Oh.
People do it all the time.
Well, I used to, in our video business, we used to transfer people's old, home movies to digital, whatever. And I couldn't understand how I'd just get a box in the mail and it'd say, hey, can you please make these digital? I'm like, who would do that? Just pack their stuff up and send it. And I didn't even know it was coming. I mean, that's your treasures. So, yeah, I don't know about sending a coin through the mail. I'd drive it.
Maybe you could buy some insurance at the post office. But
maybe.
How would you prove to them the value of it? I've heard of some big ripoffs with that where people were doing.
Yeah, you value it. Yeah, buy insurance to cover for $10,000.
Not the post office fault. Now remember, I sold something. That's a different story on eBay where the guy claimed after he paid me PayPal that this ball didn't do me any good, and it's got all these crazy. And it didn't. I had it sealed up. It was flawless. It wasn't broken. I refunded his money and kept my bottle. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's get into some other things here. I went to Tuscaloosa, and I did the talk at that church that I was talking about in another podcast where the guy says, you mean there's a fee? He's the nicest guy in the world. His name's Wayne. And he gave me my check as soon as I walked in the door, and I had more fun with those folks. His wife is so charming. I don't know if that was their son, but people had so much silver and stuff, but this is what they had the most of, just like First Baptist in Jasper. The young man comes in, he's got a vault, and you can lift it. It's a safe. And he opens up and says, I hope this is worth a lot. I've got a bag full of gold coins.
Oh.
And he opens it up, and it's those Sacagawea $1. Must have been 80 of them. Oh. There's a bag full of them, and I start laughing. He says, they're not gold. I says, no, they're just colored gold. They're $1. I says, like I say in my podcast, they's dollars, folks. They's just dollars. I love to do that old miner. They's just dollars. And he had the Susan Anthony dollars too. And I could say, they's just dollars. And so I said, Adam, spend them at the supermarket.
Yeah, there you go. Don't hang on to them.
Some people had a couple of displays of state quarters. Let me show you what I got. And I had one of them that had the 1943 steel pennies they think are silver.
Yeah.
And they is steel. All 11 trillion they made that year steel.
Oh, wow.
But I do teach people that they're, I won't get off into that. They accidentally made some copper ones, about 20 at the beginning of 43, and they're worth a lot.
Yeah.
And at the end of 43, they forgot to take the steel planchets out, and they knocked out about 20 steel 1944.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're worth the fortune. See, those are mistakes. You got to watch out for it. But they had all that kind of stuff, all of it. They had the Eisenhower dollars that are clad. You can see the copper in them. Hold them up. They're not. They're dollars, but that's all they are, and they're not silver dollars. I started looking at the value of gold, and if people are buying gold, I thought I'd cover a little of this today. Gold is over $2,000 a troy ounce, and I tell people gold and silver, it goes up and down daily. A troy ounce of gold is different than an ounce of gold. I walked in one day to McDonald's. I met this guy from Hueytown. They had this gold jewelry. I've got the scale, and I put it on troy ounce, so it reads troy ounce. And ounce does not read like troy ounce. So I started paying them, calculated it on ounce, and I went to sell it to a friend of mine who knows stuff, and he says, you lost money because I didn't put it on troy ounce. See?
So what's the difference? Is a troy ounce actually lighter than a regular ounce? Or is it the other way around?
Yeah, I believe it. I don't know if it's the other way around, but I didn't want to think about it. I've blocked it out of my mind. I don't even think about it.
Those people were like, man, this is awesome.
So let me tell you, they used to have the gold parties on TV. I'm not seeing them anymore, and gold's going way up. I'm not seeing the mobile homes in the parking lots that are buying gold. They want your jewelry, and they don't want your diamonds unless they're big. I mean, when you went to sell gold jewelry, they they said, we don't want the gemstones.
Yep.
And I did that too. I tell these rich women at the senior centers buying their rings, I'm not a gemologist. I can't appraise that. I don't want them. Let's just take them out. It's freaked them out.
I had I guess it was the early 2000s when gold was way up there. And anyway, I had a client that I did a lot of video marketing for, and he owned a jewelry store. And I remember doing so many commercials for him where he was wanting to buy people's gold,
Right.
bring it in, bring it in, bring it in. He was making a killing.
Well, and here's how they would buy gold, because I've dealt with them, and they're honest to doing it honestly. And I bought gold. I tried to make about a 10% profit.
Yeah, that's what he was
beyond
doing.
what I paid for.
Yep.
Well, some of them tried to make a 70% profit.
And would, yeah.
I mean, yeah, right. Well, let's just say, let's part gold today at troy ounce value of $2,000. Let's say theoretically we have a ring that's 1/4 ounce, troy ounce now, gold ring. Now, if that ring is 14 karat, and it's going to, let's say, if it was solid 24 karat gold, it would be worth $500, right? It's 1/4 of an ounce, 1/4 of 2,000. Okay, but it's not 24 karat. So it's 14 karat. That's 7/12 of 24th. So if you do 7/12 of $500, that ring's going to be worth roughly $292.
Okay.
But you don't want to buy it at that.
Right.
You want to buy it at about 240 or so, and you're being fair to the person, because remember, gold can go down overnight or 2 nights.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose money.
Right, right.
Now, if it's a 10 karat ring, you're going to do 5/12s or 10/24s, if you want to say that, of $500, and that ring's going to be worth about $209. These give or take $1 or $2.
Yeah.
Now, if it's 18 karat, it's going to be exactly this amount. It's going to be 9/12s. That's 18/24s, 9/12s of $500, $375 to the penny. So if you're buying it as someone buying gold, and you're not a cheat, you want to buy it for about $320, $330.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a good friend of yours, you may buy it for $360. And if you don't want to make any money, you'll buy it for $375.
Yeah.
But then overnight, it could be
could
worth
lose
more.
it. Yeah.
It could be worth more or less overnight. That's true. So that's kind of how you appraise things there. I got some notes here. Paper money. Man,
So I've been seeing a lot of things pop up about $2 bills with the red seal.
the seal, they're worth
Yeah.
more. I saw a lot of. I told them down there at the church, they had $2 bills. I said, I think the rare seal in good conditions, they're worth about $5. The common seal, $2. They're wrinkled, $2.25. My doctor friend's going to pay $2 for them. He ain't going to pay anything extra for that. I tell you, I'm making people feel good when I say $2.25 and $2.50. If they want to sell them because I blabbed it, I'll pay that if I got a little money.
Yeah,
But I'm not going to make any money on it.
Right.
Those $2 bills aren't. Now, let's get back old $2 bills.
Yeah.
You get back where they're big bills.
Right, right.
Get back like 1917. What, you go way back like that, all the money's worth something. Case in point, old paper money. There's a guy that's got a stack of it. I understand he's 94 years old, and I want his phone number. He showed it to me at the library the other day south of Birmingham, and it was in a giant box. He's got all kinds of stuff. I didn't have time to look through it, but I'll go to the bank and borrow money to go.
You didn't get his number?
No, but I thought it was the guy that's coming to Birmingham to meet me and my doctor friend
Okay.
to sell some coins.
I got you.
And there's a coin dealer also in Birmingham, in Hoover, and I've referred some people to him too. He's honest,
Yeah.
as most coin dealers are. He's a friend. And I just remember, my Lord, I still owe him $25 for a football bet. I forgot about that. I walked in twice in January, and he wasn't in there. I just walked out, and I forgot about it. We do an annual bet every year. So if he owed me $25, I'd be there
You'd
beating
be
on
finding
the
it,
floor, right? So I forgot I still owe him $25. I can't go tomorrow, but I'll go in the day after that. I'm embarrassed. Confession I forgot about it. Paper money can be worth a lot of money. I want to see what this guy's got. I copied some notes off of eBay. They ain't going to sell for this kind of money, but this is what's listed. They had I told you, cities and towns made their own money in the 1800s and early 1900s. There's going to be a First National Bank of Opelika, First National Bank of Troy, First National Bank of Decatur. Then there's going to be state of Alabama currency. There's going to be Confederate currency, federal currency. City of Mobile Savings Bank, 1862, in circulated but not torn condition is being listed for $142.49, and it says, or make offer, which means nobody's bidding on it, right?
Right.
It's going to go maybe for Far less than that.
Yeah.
1863, state of Alabama $1 note. They're common. They've got this listed way too much, $88.20. But it's 1863. I
But
saw
it's
my
a dollar.
dentist friend an 1863 $10 note from the state of Alabama for $40, and later he said somebody told him they were right. You paid 30 too much. It was about worth $10. They're old, but they're not worth that much.
Right.
1864 state of Alabama note, $50 note, is listed for 96. Why are they putting the pennies in here? These are their starting bids, right? Nobody's bidding. They're saying starting bid is $96.34. I don't know. Nobody's bidding. And a lot of that, it's slower on eBay, and a lot of it is they've got the things overvalued. Confederate money. There's 72 different styles of Confederate money. $10, $5 notes, $1 notes. There are $500 bills and $1,000 bills from Montgomery. There's your money.
Wow.
They printed those like just in April of 1861 when the Civil War started, April 9th, 1861, when Fort Sumter was fired upon. Do you know one of the two soldiers that lit the cannon was Mr. Doubleday? I think his name's Alexander Doubleday, who invented baseball.
No, really.
No, really. I like to envision a baseball flying over Fort Sumter, right? Boom, there goes the baseball. But they say it's the same Doubleday that invented baseball. He's one of the two men that fired the cannon. You wonder why there's so much Confederate money around and why it's not worth so much money. With the exception of the Montgomery notes, they start in the thousands.
Yeah.
Even if you've got some worn 500 or mint condition 500 or $1,000 bills from Montgomery, I think those $100 and $50 bills too. Montgomery, they didn't mint them for long, just a few weeks. They're worth a lot of money in the thousands in good condition.
Wow.
They printed I wrote this down a little while ago, $1.7 billion in money. Not million, $1.7 billion in Confederate notes were printed.
Wow.
And of course, I think most of it survived and people got it everywhere. But let me warn you, there's play money of Confederate money, and it's starchy and stiff. And in the 1950s, when they were making this stuff, and maybe the 1960s, and it looks just like the real thing, a little blurrier. The detail's not quite so good, but the color's the same. It's got the same horse-drawn cannon or the slaves picking cotton or the steamboat on it. They're stiff. They now say copy, or what's the other word for it?
Duplicate?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's another. But they'll have something to that effect, copy on it. I say with copy on it. They're copies. They're play money. And they're worth nothing. I've had more people tell me, I've got a box here full of Confederate money worth a fortune. And now it's the older play money that doesn't say copy on it.
Okay. Gotcha. So they think it's real.
Yeah. So if it's starchy, stiff and crunch, it's not real. The real stuff is almost like tissue paper. It's limp. So I want to educate you on that in case you're looking around for things like that. We're going to try to do one under 30 minutes for a change. Things you may not believe. We're going to look for donations.
Gotta have donations.
Philip put 5 in. I put 20 in.
That's right. Jim donates to his own self.
I'm not going to talk about what started off. We did a radio show back years ago when the Phillips family moved into their home in 2005. We were welcomed with a neighborly greeting, but they weren't human.
Yeah.
They weren't human. And though we didn't get to see, we got to saw what they were doing. And we all three witnessed it and heard it and witnessed it. I ain't talking about it until we start getting, I don't want to. I really
What's the dollar amount that's going to make you want to talk about
Well, I told you, two people want to come in with their electronic devices and go, are you mad at us? I said, I know who started this. I told my daughter, you're being watched over. I know who's watching over you. Your love, you're being watched over. And it was proven before it was over. I said, I told you. Things that would scare people. The minor stuff like the wall shaking, boom.
Yeah.
Boom. And things on the mantle vibrating and boom. And like one lady told me in the library, pulled me aside, that was the minor stuff that started. She said, did you know there was a message when your walls shook, your house shook? I said, yeah. We said it like we rehearsed it together. I said, I know what the message was. She said it with me. Pay attention to me. That was the message.
Wow.
But we ain't talking about it.
You're talking about it now.
That's a tease, but it's true, it's real, and I got witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, taking the lie detector test, forget it. I got a lady in the library. I called the lady, so look at my podcast. She says, when you going to take the lie detector test? That's all she wanted to know. I called a couple of polygraph companies. I called one, and if your blood pressure goes up, that's a sign you're lying.
Right.
You can't believe what pisses me off.
I
go into doctor's offices. It's not fear or anxiety. It's just sometimes the stupidity. And my blood pressure goes through the roof. I walk in with like 110 over 65. I come out with 190 over over.
And that's just in the waiting room.
Yeah, just listening to stupid things. I went to see this doctor once, and I'm telling him I need to just adjust this medicine and this and that. And he keeps tapping my knee. I'm serious, he's tapping my knee. Oh, let me tell you. Now, I'm digressing. Remind me what I was talking about, okay? Because I'm digressing.
I don't remember what you're talking about.
I was asleep. I'm getting a CAT scan. I'm getting a CAT scan because I've lost some hearing, and I'm in the tube. Mm-hmm. This is not the open CAT scan. I hate them up in the tube. It's claustrophobic. And I'm out in northeast Jefferson County, and they plan to play a lot of hillbilly music and gospel music out that way. And I'm in a CAT scan, and they're playing music, and it's old. It's old gospel music. It's old twangy gospel music. And my blood pressure's going through the roof. And I like good religious people. I just don't like old twangy gospel music. So I start talking to guys. Says, sir, what? You'll hear them in their room talking to you, right? They got a little speaker, the CAT scan tube. I says, could you put something else on? And I couldn't believe it. He found Tony Bennett.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And because I got to lower my blood pressure. So they're doing the CAT scan. I promise this is true. And he says, Mr. Phillips, Mr. Phillips. I said, what? I'm hearing him on the speaker in a totally dark CAT scan tube. And he says, not CAT scan, what am I thinking about?
MRI.
Yeah, MRI.
Yeah.
Resonance imagery, magnetic resonance imagery, MRI. And they did an MRA. They put radioactive dye in my veins so they could see my veins. So this is important. They're seeing my veins. You can't see that with an MRI, but you can with an MRA. So I'm doing that. He says, Mr. Phillips, when was your brain operated on? I promise. I says, what? When was your brain operated on? I said, my brain's never been operated on. Now, come on, Mr. Phillips, there's no need to be, that's just how he talk, no need to be embarrassed. He says, you've had a brain operation. Now, when did you have your brain operation? I just got so mad. And I said to him, oh, I know what you're looking at. I can explain it with one word. Always pause for effect. I paused. I said, aliens. And just like the psychiatrist, it went boom, boom, boom. You heard boom, 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 boom in the control room. And then you heard two men talking, or two people talking. Maybe he had a woman with him. Yeah. But here, whisper, stop. Mr. Phillips, we'll continue with the MRA right now. That shut him up. Now, I don't know what the heck I was talking about.
So you were talking about...
my blood pressure. No, I remember now, the polygraph. So I called this guy and said, listen, I'm doing these podcasts, and some of these things, they've happened, but they sound unbelievable. And I make fun with them, but they're real. They're real. The energy field still almost scares me. That Jeep for 30 seconds wasn't locked in an energy field while a tone played. I was locked in it. And my bones were with it vibrating. So if I start turning green and scaly here, you'll know what happened there. So I'm telling this guy I might want to have a polygraph done. Not that it proves I'm telling the truth, but it proves that I'm convinced I'm telling the truth. That's all they do. And I know that they are gauged by blood pressure. Going up implies you're lying. Sweating does. Heart rate increases. So he says, a UFO. Well, just like the guy in the doggone MRI. I want to say, do you do polygraphs too? And you're here doing, because didn't I hear you before? And I said, well, I talked about this happened and I saw this. He goes, silent. He goes, a UFO. My blood pressure's going through the roof. He's so stupid. So, right there, sitting with him doing a polygraph, and I keep saying I could get one in 30 minutes. What's the cost?
Right.
I say, well, it'll be $40. It'll be an hour and a half long. He won't tell me a cost. He just keeps saying it's going to be an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he knows his work.
Sure.
I'm not saying he's not professional with
Yeah.
it. But the point is his whole attitude and all just riled me into high blood pressure. So I ain't going to take a polygraph test because whoever gives it's going to just infuriate me. Not to violence. It's just, or
They're
don't,
just going to assume you're lying.
don't tell me I owe you $2,500 for an hour and a half.
Right, right.
That's my point.
Yeah.
But that's what I kept hearing. No, we're going to get you for an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So you get into stuff like that. So I'm not going to do a polygraph test. Let's get some people donating money. Fanny Flag, you owe me big. Did I tell the story
You did,
on
yes.
another podcast?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Fried green tomatoes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I videotaped her for the Summerfest. It was.
Y'all can go back and listen. I think it was podcast 1 or 2.
It's true. Fanny was so adorable. I got my office and my modeling and video business in the lobby of the Hyatt, and I was videotaping her for a commercial for the Summerfest Theater series. And she was starting Fried Green Tomatoes. I want to do a rehash. And I said, I saw you on TV last night riding the renewal train. You don't need to know what that is. She said, I'm starting a book. I'm coming up with ideas. She's cute as a doll. She's waiting for me to get the camera set up, rehearsing her. The music, it's Music Man. That's the play, Music Man. So she keeps saying, what's your name? And I said, Jim Phillips. And she's got a notebook out. She's writing it down. And she asked me 3 times, your name, how do you spell it? Jim Phillips. She keeps repeating it. And I was telling somebody this, said, you idiot, the first name in the book, in the movie is Jim Phillips. My wife says it's Jim Smokey Phillips. So somebody said, well, she took your name. She was as much telling me so.
Yeah,
She said,
yeah.
I'm coming up with ideas for my book. What's your name?
Right.
So I'm honored, but you could send me, if you go to my website, Jim Phillips,
Alabama.com.
2 L's in Phillips. Look for the grainy brown picture. It says podcast upper right to see my podcast, but it's got donate in there.
And look, this is not a 501c3. This is just giving money to somebody that's going to go out and find some treasure and tell you about it.
I had doctors donate 100, 150 to me and my insurance agent for a research I was doing, and I told him it's not tax deductible, and I pay taxes on it too.
Yeah.
Fanny, you're adorable. The year was 1983. I want you to donate $83.83
For every year that you've made money on fried green tomatoes.
I could say $83,000.
There you go.
But
There
you
you
were
go.
adorable, and I love watching you. And I've not watched the whole movie. I missed the part with Jim Smokey Phillips in it.
Maybe I'll pull this part of the podcast out and track her down and send it to her.
Well, I want $83.83, Fanny. And you can reach me through.
She'll probably remember you.
I'll
You're
take
very
you
memorable.
to dinner. I just loved your personality. I'll take it. We're both a little older, but you were the sassiest, most pizzazz lady I think I'd ever met. She was adorable. I would have run off with her if I could have back then. I was thinking, all right, Jim Neighbors. Maybe I said about how I met Jim outside my door.
Yep.
Okay, I did that one. Well, Jim, you're deceased, but you can still send me some money.
His estate can send it to you.
Yeah, your estate can send that. Arnold Schwarzenegger. We'll do that one last. Roy Orbison, you're deceased, man. I told my brother once when he used to leave me abandoned at the high school over there and put a red mountain and to drive off with his Mountain Brook girlfriend. He was supposed to give me a ride home. He's in the 12th grade. I'm in the 9th. And I'd walk down there and the car's gone.
That's what big brothers are for.
Well, his girlfriend didn't want to be seen with his little brother. It wasn't cool. I can relate to that. So I walked my little butt down to the Alabama Theater and sat on the concrete pot with a big plant in it, waited on the bus to go out to Center Point. And Clifford would come by, this African-American fella who was kind of paralyzed in a red flower wagon, and I'd donate some money to him, and he was a saint. He found my coat once laying on the sidewalk behind me, picked it up, tapped me, handed it to me. But this beautiful woman used to walk down the sidewalk, and I'm just 14.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Lord, you know how I'm about older women.
Sure.
My daughter does too. Dad, shut up. Older women. That's how I used to get them to obey me. I'm going to tell you about a relationship I had with an older woman. And it may be a girl that's 6 months older, all that. But here comes this woman. She's a woman who, to me, she's probably 20 years old, 19, 20, but I'm 14. And I'm thinking, now, where am I telling this story? I'm at the airport. I have figured out what plane Roy Orbison is flying in on with his band, the Candyman.
Yeah.
And I forgot the name, George. I forgot George's name, his drummer, was with the Candyman. He and Roy are together, and they get off the Convair 440 Eastern Airlines. They're going to play at the Cloud Room out Cascade Plunge. That's where they're going to play February 1964. So my mother carried me down there. I'm not driving. I went in. She's laughing through all this. And, oh, Mr. Orbison, he gives me his autograph. And I says, what's your next song going to be about? He says, you got any ideas? And I'm telling them, waiting on the bus, my brother abandoned me. I go down, this beautiful woman walks down. And I'm too young. And I just want to say, can you please stop? Don't walk. I actually said, don't walk on by. That's in the song. I said that.
Wow.
But I did not say walking down the street like the song Pretty Woman.
Right.
I said walking down the sidewalk.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So the drummer is laughing, saying, Roy said, are you getting notes on this? He's going, yeah, repeat it. So I'm giving the scenario. It was nothing dramatic. I'm just sitting there waiting. Don't walk on by.
Right.
Every day when I walk down there, I want to meet you. And what chance have I got? I'm just going to be rejected. And they're like, well, all right. So we got to work on a song on that. August of 1864, his next record was Pretty Woman.
Wow.
And the story is on the internet that it's a different story, that Claudette, his wife, was going out shopping and wanted some money. And Bill Dees, who's co-writer, says, Roy, you shouldn't have to give a pretty woman money. I mean, she shouldn't have to spend her own money.
Mm-hmm.
Roy, give her money, right? And that's how the idea of the name came up.
Right.
But I've told people, I can't say that's an inspiration. Oh, that's why I did it. I mean, people, the other things, nobody believe anything, and I can't prove that. But they
sounds like it was a real thing to me.
They
You couldn't make that up
they
either.
took middle notes. And Roy, send me money from the next world. I worked out with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, he's alive, and Arnold was in Birmingham. I guess it was 75. They were making the movie Stay Hungry with Sally Field and Jeff or Bo Bridges. I had the key to the back door of Noddle's gym so I could work out late at night. And I'd let Arnold in. And he would come in and work out. He was just like he was in, what's the movie where he's like a robot?
Oh, RoboCop or Terminator.
Terminator.
Yeah.
That was the real Arnold Schwarzenegger. He
Yeah.
talked like this and he walked like this. I mean, that was it. He's Austrian and he didn't speak good English. So I'm working out and he said three things I remember. One of them's kind of medical. So he's pumping up in front of the mirror and he says, one day I will rule the world. I'm laughing. I think, this is late at night, it's just me and Arnold, maybe one other person. And then he's standing there and I'm working out and he's standing there and he turns around and he says to me, you sit on my back while I cop, right? I says, what? This is all true. I've got his voice down to a T.
Yeah.
You don't forget this.
He doesn't sound much different than that now.
Austrian accent, he said, you sit on my back while I cop, right? I says, what? Sit on your back and mean ride the pony? And he went, I'll never forget, went, yeah. People, you don't know what ride the pony is. You work your calf muscles. We got machines for that. But he goes over and he puts the front fourth of his feet on the edge of steps. Right. And he leans over and puts his hands on the handrails. You sit on his back like riding a horse. That's so the back doesn't help lift.
It's all going to the legs.
All goes to the legs.
Yeah.
The idea is the machine does back and legs.
Right.
He wants to just work to the legs. So I'm sitting on his back and he's doing calf raises. This little nurse I'm dating was coming by to meet me like at 12:30 in the morning. She gets off from the hospital and she's looking through the glass, laughing her butt off because I'm on Arnold's back. And it's like, who is this monstrosity? What is that, right? But then I'm benching, and I got your permission to tell this one. I'm benching weights.
I love it.
Nothing dirty. I think this quote was in a book.
Yeah.
I didn't read the book Stay Hungry. The movie was called Stay Hungry. And I saw part of the movie, never read the book. I think this was something he said in the book, but he said this to me. I'm benching, and I got skinny wrists. I'm trying to push about 250 pounds up, and I'm going, laying on my back bench and pushing it up. And he says, it's true, you know. And I said, I'm going, what's true, Arnold? He says, a good pump is better than an orgasm. I got 250 pounds, about 8 inches off my neck, trying to push it up. You know how hard that is after hearing that? So I'm like, and the weights are tilting left and right, and I'm laughing. And finally, I get the weights up there, and I thought, and he thinks he's going to be a movie star. That's what my little nursing girlfriend says. He's in town making a movie. I said, but anyway,
he did it, and he ruled the world.
Go to my website, JimPhillipsAlabama.com, 2 L's in Phillips, and recognize it with a brownish picture of an old town.
Oh yeah. You'll see it.
And
if you just Google Jim Phillips,
right, but
Alabama, you'll get a bunch.
You can Google searching for truth and treasure in Alabama, but that ain't going to take you to my website.
Right, it'll eventually get you there because the links are all connected. So.
Well, I'm not only seeing about 6 of what were 9 podcasts on that.
Well, if you click on there, they'll figure it out.
Well,
you just click on it, it'll take you.
Better to go to JimPhillipsAlabama.com. Look for the website. In the upper right, it will say podcast. Click that to watch it. But when you get to that brownish picture of an 1890s town that you put in, Philip, you scan down and it says donate. And I mean, I really could use money to go out and explore. And Arnold, you can send me $1,000, Arnold. You owe me. I rode the pony and helped develop your legs. But you can click donate.
There you go.
And I really like to see some people doing a little something. But it ain't tax deductible because I am using it only for gas, travel expenses, and maintenance on my Jeep, which I explore Alabama with and research treasures. We'll get more to some actual sites I'm going to be hunting soon and what we're finding. Okay?
Cool. All right. Hey, and remember, if y'all want to book Jim to do a speaking engagement or something, he does them. You can email him right there from the email.
I ain't going to California.
Well, if the money's right, Jim, you will.
Yeah, well, East Mississippi.
$200 to get to California.
I've done East Mississippi, Southern Tennessee near the Bama border, all of Alabama, the northern part of Florida near the border, and West Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia.
That's where I can drive to. And the fees are negotiable because
there you go.
Okay.
All right, guys. We appreciate you listening. Go back and listen to all the podcasts. Subscribe to them. Watch them on YouTube. Listen to them. Check out the website. Donate money. Jim, we will see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Gold, they just gotta have that gold.
Thanks for listening to another episode. If you have questions for Jim Phillips or would like more information on his speaking availability, visit his website at JimPhillipsAlabama.com.